before we get out of here. I had finally found everything I needed to know and uncovered the depths of the affair and started putting together a plan for weeks. It didn't go as planned, but it set a course for where we are today and what was finally decided last night. On December 12th, I found out everything. I had only circumstantial evidence for 6 months of gut feelings, piecing together actions, moods and things on Pinterest, etc. It turns out all of my gut reactions were 99% proven correct. I found out that even when I first uncovered the affair in early June, they never stopped. They just kept taking it more and more underground. They both created secret email accounts in late June and were conversing every morning and night via email and all day during text, phone and meeting in person many days on the job site, taking off for lunch, etc. They were deep. They were discussing marriage, house ideas, looking at actual houses, and basically when they weren't seeing each other, they were communicating non-stop over any channel, text, email, voice. Even when she promised her dad and I she was done with him in October, she actually went to spend time with him the very next day. On December 21st, I found out that his wife finally found out. She put a stop to everything, but my wife and him were still planning on being friends and were using a third party to pass messages through. Even though he decided to commit to his wife and make things work, my wife was not done and was willing to wait for him and still was madly in love and devastated. Even when she said she knew she was done with him and it would not never work, I knew she wasn't done. I found her list of questions she was going to ask them when they met up. The meeting never happened because the wife caught wind of it and went to the OM's job site and prevented the meeting from taking place. I had my wife served on December 21st as well. I didn't want the divorce, but I thought it is what was needed to put certain protections in place and, if anything, to shock her into how crazy all of this was. She was mentioning things like him meeting our kids and inviting him to be with them at events. That was the last straw for me. She can walk over me, but getting my kids involved showed the lack of any sort of judgment and forced the hand I was moving towards anyhow. By the end of the day, she never got the papers because she wasn't where she was supposed to be. So, with Christmas on the horizon and her knowing that I knew everything now, we decided to give it a few days and talk about it again after Christmas. The questions included a lot of eye-opening things into the mind of my wife and just how far deep she was in with this man. She wanted marriage and a life forever with him, in her mind. In her head, she had lost him once back in 2009 and she couldn't bear to lose him again. She only envisioned a life with him together. She said it would be hard on our kids, but she knew she would be a happier, healthier mom now and have happier kids as a result of it. But even though willing to do that alone, she wanted to start that life over with him because it would be better. She then went in and out of things she was scared about, like if she would always only be his secret, if she would only always be his girlfriend. She wrote down some things about how hurt she was that he was making this look easy to not be in contact with her, but she knew he owed his wife a shot. There's a lot more along these same lines, but it all hurt me like hell. Shocking to everyone that ever gave me advice and the people here. I just didn't feel done in my heart and just tried to relay to her that I never wanted a divorce, and I still don't, but only if she could dedicate 100% to honestly working on this on her end. After her talking with our priest again and family members, she started to make rounds and closure, and I knew that was her answer, that even with him out of the picture, she had convinced herself that it wouldn't work between us. She has convinced herself that she didn't get the love that she deserved and she would be happier without me. She could never bring herself to fix why she always nitpicked or whatever I did was wrong. She couldn't find a way to fix that, and now she doesn't even want to put the effort into it because she convinced herself that she tried for years before the affair. We had our final talk last night about moving forward with the divorce papers to be served. I felt clear and satisfied that I had said my piece, that I loved her and I always will, that I didn't want this and I'm doing this because I have no other choice and it's what you want. I told her that I would rather go through hell than put our kids through this. She understood, but again, she's basically convinced herself that the marriage wasn't as good as I thought it was, or even good for the kids to see a healthy relationship, something that we agreed to disagree on. She knows I'm a great person, a great father, but just convinced herself that I'm not right for her or not compatible. I tried to reason with her till my lips were blue on this issue about how opposites aren't a bad thing, but for every reason or every answer I had, she had a response that shot it down. I think this will be a pretty amicable split as there's not a lot of anger or any hatred. The only part that may cause a major rift in the proceedings is that she wants just joint custody, and for many reasons. I want primary custody and the house to keep the kids where they are comfortable. The thing that hurts the most is her thinking that I wasn't right for her, or she didn't get the love she deserved, or that she got married because it was the thing to do and everyone she knew was getting married at that time. I truly believe there was genuine love at one point, but she's trying to do anything she can to justify why she would do what she did with the long-standing affair and to make herself feel better about these decisions. I have showed the messages and evidence to those I have confided in and trust, and they believe this was not the thinkings of anything rational, but rather a teenage-style fantasy and unrealistic expectations for her own life and marriage. Essentially the way many feel in an affair, that this is what is meant to be, this is perfect, and this is my soulmate. All of the fun and none of the dragging down of real life with kids, responsibilities, and obligations. Thank God for a supportive family, including hers, for the most part, and good friends and counseling. My counselor believes that she has some deep-seated issues that will not be resolved until she has a life-changing event happen. It's then that she will tackle the insecurity and depression that she has carried all of her life, way before she met me. The issues that require her to receive affirmation on a daily basis to make her feel good about herself. She told me she needs to be told she's beautiful every day and that it's not too much to ask. I asked her if she would rather have someone tell her that for a year to get what they want or to have someone show you that or genuinely feel it, and she told me it shouldn't be too much to ask. Over the past few months, both her and her best friend asked me, well, if you didn't find out about the affair, or it never happened, would you have ever changed? Because I did a lot over this past summer to become a better man, a better leader, and a better father because of the shock to my system and the awakening I had. I told them both, all it would have taken was for my wife to say, I'm not happy in the marriage and this needs to change. I told them both. It would have had the same effect as the affair on me and I would have refocused my life on what was necessary. I guess, from what I hear now and what my counselor has said, even if I changed years ago, I still would have run into this because the problem was never in me, never between us. It resides in her, and until she decides to fight those demons, she will continue to live this life with these issues until that day comes. I truly hope the best for her, but also deep down I'm saddened by what she is willing to do for herself because she believes this will make her happier and in turn will make the kids better. I wholeheartedly disagree, but there lies the conflict never resolved. There's a lot more details to this story of what I uncovered, but you guys get the gist and the deceit that was carried out during this whole process. And the lies told over and over to cover this up and make us feel like idiots for assuming this was what was going on. I don't carry ill will because of that, but only because those decisions are going to tear the family apart, and I need to do what I have done while this has all been going on, focusing on the two little people that had nothing to do with this and surely didn't ask of it. Comment: if you really wanted her back, the usual strategy is generally to kick her out and not tolerate her bad behavior. Drawing that line in the sand forces a power change in your favor. Instead, by trying to talk her into reconciliation and choosing you, you instead gave her 100% of the relationship power. Plus, if things aren't going to work out, it generally feels better for your self-esteem to be the dumper rather than the dumped, which helps with your emotional recovery. OP responds: when she found out everything, she emailed me and apologized for how she reacted to me and wished she would have listened to me back then. Problem is now, she is like where I was a few months ago. She is minimizing how big this affair was and is listening to everything her husband says. I replied to her with some more info that I had, and she said, I have to tell you the truth, everything I'm telling her. She's telling her husband, and that she would rather let all of the air run out of her lungs rather than betray her husband, and is still willing to let him be a customer of hers when I told her my wife is not even supposed to be the sales contact for that region of the state. I'll be happy to be an example and living proof of what to do and what not to do. Before the affair and after. I wish I would have done some things differently, but feel good in my heart and soul for truly believing I gave it my all. Last night I accomplished what I wanted. We moved on, but I made it clear, even if it gives her the power theoretically, that I didn't want this, you wanted this. There were some snags along the way, so maybe I can offer a few pointers in my case which would have helped me. 1. I was able to be patient and tactical with getting evidence over a 2-week period in December, and I was able to do with her not having a dang clue. Wish I would have been this tactical in June when I first found out to get the whole truth early on, but then again, it was the first blow and the emotions were running high. 2. After getting more info and talking to her, I would have exposed to the vital people much sooner if I know what I know now to break up the fantasy early before it got way too involved. I was mistaken that if I had the time that I would win her over, but instead the time was crucially against me and deepened the affair and her love for him and her control over her. 3. It's vital to expose to the other spouse involved, but when I did it without enough evidence. The evidence I wouldn't have till a month later. Again, that makes steps 1 and 2 more important. And of course, no matter what I read, no matter what I was told and studied and told her, she was still able to convince me why contact was necessary for her job. Now I fully understand what I told her all along and myself all along, but didn't truly heed it because I was afraid of the consequences of demanding, but it would have been necessary. That's making the ultimatum of no contact with OM or no marriage. I think boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, it's a big thing to be the dumper and come away with your head held high. But in this case, with the life we had built up and our kids and what I believed in, I hold my head high because I fought for what I believed in and what stayed true to my own values, and when I knew that it wouldn't work no matter what I did, it hurt and I was sad, but I left it all on the field. I would do things a lot differently if I had to do it over, but what's done is done. Like it's been said, exposure earlier and him or me earlier, regardless of what the consequences would have given me a much better chance than I suppose. The priest, they talk twice and she appears, at least from what I know, to have cleared this hurdle. God only knows how. I am going to reach back out to him. I know they are close, but whatever she told him seems to be okay. She's still involved in all the meetings and planning and serving in church, even though she told him we were getting a divorce. The details: she was not sleeping with him but essentially planning to very soon, maybe even the day before it got broke up, because I think they were both planning on taking the day off and meeting that Friday. Wife found out everything on Thursday. What they were planning the whole time was a life together after my wife quickly was moving on and through the process to get free, and she was willing to wait for him when he was done with his wife. They were looking at houses, planning on home improvements, etc. They were meeting up for lunches quite often. She's in sales and he's a customer of hers, and she has made friends with the people in his company, so she would visit almost on a daily basis to drop off supplies, check on equipment. But then they would break off and go have lunch together or shop or just go away in her vehicle and sit and do whatever. I believe he was just leading her on the whole time, but my wife was wanting a life with him forever, even after the wife broke it off. It was clear she still wanted to wait for him and eventually be chosen by him, but I think it was clear who he chose, which was always not much of a doubt. The only question now is that if he's just waiting for things to cool down on his side so he can resume having a girlfriend too. That was one of the questions my wife had to him in her notes. Will I always be just your girlfriend? You said I'm your secret. Is that all I will ever be? Apparently, yes. As a man and as a husband, yes can be seen as very weak. As a father, no. I pride myself on trying to do what was best for my kids as I know them best, and in our situation, we have 2 great kids, but they operate best with both parents in the same household. For 6 months, I was doing it for the whole family, especially my wife and myself, but in the last month, I was doing what I thought was best for the kids to keep us together. I told my wife in our last talk during the decision that I would rather go through hell, eternally and literally, than put our kids through this. Her response was that the kids will be better off because she will be a happier, healthier mother and person. I knew then, again, that the person she was most concerned with was the person that said those words. Our proceedings should be pretty fair, with the only point of contention being the kids. I'm going for joint custody, decision-making, and primary physical custody with reasonable custody for the mother. I won't back down from that, and she knows this. It's not a bargaining piece or out of spite. I have been the primary caregiver of the kids for most of their lives. She's the home improvement lady, etc., and especially during her summer of love, I had to pick up the slack, fill in the schedule voids, take days off when they were sick, no childcare, etc. She got mad when I told her I told the principal the situation, and I told her someone had too. I had to make sure someone could be my eyes and ears at school to see if the kids were being affected by this, as they don't know, even if they sense something. She said I was thinking about it in November, and I said, well, I'm even more glad that I talked to the school about it because you thought about it and did nothing. She is confiding in and talking a lot to one of her friends from the same company. She was using him first as a messenger to get messages to the OM and back to her so the other wife wouldn't find out, but now she is using him for a shoulder to lean on and probably someone she thinks she can maybe get the OM jealous with. Who knows? Based on finding all the evidence, it's safe to assume there was nothing physical, but I believe it may have been planned the day after the wife found out. They were talking about plans to in other situations as if they never have, which surprised me. I'm sure they did most everything else, however. To be honest, as soon as she told me that she passes everything I tell her on to her husband, I told her good luck and I hope the best for your family. No, I haven't told her. I asked a few close people and they said don't bother, but I'm still considering it. These were her last 2 responses to me when she told me that my wife and her were done. My wife told me yesterday that she met with the other man and they agreed to go separate ways. I don't believe that's what she wants and could be just another lie to me and herself, but at least for now, the OMW is tracking everything. Last response number 1. Later, OM and I talked through everything and he said they both feel the need to have closure, a goodbye so to speak. I gave him my permission to have that one last meeting to make it final. I believe it will be one day next week. Again, OM has my permission to say goodbye in person. He needs to close the door on it to move forward. Last response number 2. Just so you know, anytime you email me, I tell my husband immediately. We talk openly about this. I do not lie or keep secrets from him. I've never needed to and I will not start now. I appreciate you coming to me and letting me know about their affair. It has been monumentally painful and I'm still very hurt. But to be completely transparent, you should know I'm on his team. I would give up the breath in my lungs before I betrayed him. Now that we have moved on with the proceedings, I really don't want to do things out of spite and want to be the bigger person, but I didn't see much harm in sending out this notice. I just sent her the note that W agreed to move on and thought divorce was best for her, and that I hope the best for them on their side and that it is a true reconciliation and that she never has to encounter something like this again. She played down the affair so much even after I knew everything. Is that because since they didn't sleep together that it wasn't as bad as it should have been? However, like you said, the pining since 2009, the things she actually said to them hurt me a lot worse than just plain physical contact could have ever done. I'm in counseling and I would like to believe I wouldn't fall into a relationship like this again. Not that that is even on my radar in the near future, but I tried to keep this marriage together because of what I believe in and my vows, my kids, and the fact that it was already so much put into it. If this was just us or a BF, GF relationship, I would have been long gone. I'm hoping to hear back from my priest. I mean, if he's really nonchalant about this, that adds to the pain. I played right into a heck of a situation, but there's some reasons I'm glad I waited. Not until December 14th did I have the ultimate proof that I needed for closure and hopefully something beneficial for my case. Until then, all I had was a lot of gut feelings, small amounts of evidence, and a lot of coincidental stuff. That day put in December put all of the pieces of the puzzle together, and I was able to put it all together to know everything, her game plan then and when I found out. Yes, I did try to reconcile even after that, but I'm glad I know what I know now. I don't need anyone to make me happy. I will be just as happy with my kids and myself when it comes to me. I did this, well, at least I thought I was doing this for my kids and for her. I was raised to do things for people because it needed to be done and because it was the right thing to do and expect nothing in return. I learned through counseling and through books that while that's great for parenting, it's not totally healthy in a relationship because it's okay to expect things in return. The home I grew up in is not how every household will be. I grew up in a house with two totally different parents that made it work and loved each other for their differences because they were both mentally strong. My dad did everything for my mom that he could without expecting a damn thing in return and got reciprocated. It worked for them, it didn't work for us. She kept wanting more and more, and whatever I did was wrong. I should have stood up for myself a long time ago, but instead I just took it as she was a different animal, and I had to let her be her. I was still happy, to be honest, because I don't need others to make me happy. If there was any unhappiness on my part, and this is what I always told her, I just wanted her to be happy. I have learned through I see that I could have been different. I could have done a lot of things different, but chances are we would have ended up with the same result because the issues were never on what I said and did. They lie within the person itself, and until those issues are addressed, she'll continue to push the real cause of her hurt, depression, and insecurities away. They were there before I met her, and they will be there after. I hope she gets help eventually, but every professional I have talked to said it's going to take a significant life-changing event to spark it. We have filed for divorce and she picked up the papers today. She is well on her way to whatever she thinks she needs and deserves and is happy about it, at least for now. I'm not standing in the way anymore and I'm moving on in my own way. We have our friend of the court date on January 23rd. I'm holding my head high that I tried, but moving on and being the best man, dad, and general overall person I can be. I'm no longer trying to save this marriage because the divorce is in motion and I know whatever I do or say isn't going to make a damn difference anyway. My full focus is getting my career back in order, my focus, my fun, and most importantly, doing everything I can for the two little people involved in this that are innocent and never asked for any of it. I told my wife I would go through hell instead of doing this to our kids, but in the end, she said she felt this was best for her, and she made herself believe that since she will be happier and healthier, the kids will be better off as well. Also makes it easy that she is well off with her job financially and can do pretty much as she pleases on the road, outside sales. I'll still be the maid, the babysitter, the cook, and the bank, but again, for the two people that matter most now. My comment: here is the deal, you don't stick up for yourself. You allow others to bully you. Your wife has bullied you completely. It hurt your marriage. Being an assertive makes you unattractive, especially to women who want strong men. Passive men make them feel unsafe and unloved. It is also a magnet to attract the type of women and men who will exploit it. This passiveness is not because you are nice or it's the right thing to do, it's because you don't feel you worthy of standing up for yourself. Why are you not worthy of a wife who doesn't screw around and lie to you for years? Why doesn't that make you incredibly angry? That would be the healthy response. Instead, you try to intellectualize it like you do in this post. But I believe this is because you don't want to face it. Something is wrong, dude. A man who is your wife's lover convinced you to let him say goodbye to her, after they both lied and disrespected you for months. No one thinks this is a good thing. No one thinks this is chivalrous. No one thinks that was the right choice. Here is the deal: your strategy failed spectacularly. You were in an abusive relationship for months and months. You were continuously lied to and disrespected by your wife and her lover. You can try to convince everyone that you made the right choice, but we all can see the emperor has no clothes. The only thing your strategy was successful in doing was allowing you to avoid conflict. This seems to have been your ultimate goal the whole time. Everything has to be calm. Your wife can't only get upset to a point. Her lover can only get upset to a point. But the most important conflict you are trying to avoid is the conflict of knowing that your actions are only hurting yourself, that you really need to do some hard work to fix yourself. That is the big one that you have done the most to avoid. We can all see it. There is something wrong with that. It's not healthy and it will only lead to failure. If you do not fix this, you are going to end up attracting exactly the same women. Passive men get cheated on. Passive men attract cheaters. I believe wholeheartedly that you can fix it, but you have to acknowledge it's a problem first. OP responds: there is something not right about being okay with how I was treated during the relationship. That's why I will not be in one for quite some time until I figure out what I really want for myself and in another person way down the road. Need to show kids that it's good to set boundaries and stick up for oneself. I had a great strong dad and brother 7 years my senior as role models in my life that both said they wouldn't put up with this, but both know I'm a different cat and told me to follow what my heart says. Neither knew the extent of the deceit, however, till middle December, as did I, and like everyone else including me. It took so long to rationalize how someone so smart and someone who is completely different at different times could really be this way, but like my counselor said, she really is two different people. Sweet, charming, and innocent to those she wishes to show the persona to, and insecure, self-centered, stubborn, and fragile to only a select few. I really respect and like our priest, as he married us and he's been our priest for almost 2 decades now. I just got word from the school principal that in order for my wife still to participate in Mass and with the church, in the matter of infidelity she needs to reconcile. Obviously, that hasn't happened and was one-sided before the divorce papers were picked up by her yesterday. Just wondering if I should even bother pointing this out to Father or give him another day or two to respond to my email to him 2 days ago about all this. On Friday she retained a lawyer on her side as well. It's probably a smart move because she knows what my game plan is for the most part, and a lot of who I am running it, because I was flat out honest with her during the period where I was still working on keeping this together, up until last Monday. The last 4 or so days have been a bit easier, but I understandably hit points of pain and sorrow when I hear a song, see a picture, a movie, a clip, stuff that brings up memories or reminders of her. Back to how it's getting easier though. As of right now, what brought me pain over the last 7 months is now sort of bringing me anger. I'm seeing things that she did in a different light. They were bad before, but since I was trying to save the marriage, I moved past it. Now the incidents and the betrayals, etc. are now making me mad and angry. Not so that it gets me off track, but more or less makes each day a lot more bearable and my goals hyper-focused. She's talking more and more to her friend that was the messenger between her and her love in the week period where the wife found and when they met to supposedly go their separate ways. When I was monitoring the texts, you could tell my wife was using him for that purpose, but now I think she's using him as sort of a rebound or a filler until she finds the next best thing, or deep down if she believes that her love will still leave his wife down the road. It's also a lot easier to go through the day when she's in a bad mood or when she's quick-tempered and upset with me. It makes me stronger and kind of like feeds my motivation. It's when she's happy and on the phone and laughing every 2 seconds where it drives me nuts. We have our friend of the court hearing in less than 10 days now. My 2 biggest concerns that I will be addressing this week will be that it seemed like my priest is okay with this. We were in church on set in current, wife still went up and got communion, and she's still attending all the committee and planning meetings. I'm going to ask him to meet in person this week to see what I can find out instead of speculating. My other concern is that my lawyer came in highly regarded and highly respected, and I was very impressed with her in person, but she's not exactly responding to my emails very quickly, and I have some question and guidance that I need. My current wife is dramatically changing her daily routines and is being hypersensitive to the kids' needs ever since I told her I turned in a log of her activities to my lawyer on how she acts and what she does during the day and night. She's now taking the kids to school and picking them up. She's making dinners more and trying to spend more time with them. Don't get me wrong, she loves these kids, but in the past 7 months, her number 1 priority and mindset were seeing, talking, and thinking about Mr. Trash Can. Now that his wife put the clamps down, she doesn't have to go out on the road that as much, is coming home earlier, and since she is no longer cooking a bunch of stuff for him, she has time to cook more for the kids. I want to make sure that this is highly noted with the court, that this behavior change is coming from her not being able to use her time and resources with the AP. I just need to get myself more involved in my work so I can start feeling good about that aspect to take my mind off things. I work out every day of my off, so that aspect hasn't changed. I play basketball with the kids at the college I work at along with weight training. Recently changed my workout program to give me something to strive towards. I'm on a bulking and muscle building 10-week plan, and then I'll go back to more cardio and cutting. One good thing is during the past 7 months I would look at another woman at the gym or wherever and get a sick feeling just thinking about trying to move on. Now I'm looking at women like a normal man would, noticing attractive women and smiling again. No actions, just the sense of a normal male, I would say, and brief glimpses into the future of what dating will look like when I'm way past this. Even when divorce is final, it's going to be a long time until I think about dating, so I can focus on kids' well-being, counseling, and just trying to make them feel comfortable amidst the trouble they will be going through, and that hurts more now than the hurt that still may be left over when I think about what could have been with wife. My comment: she will have a come-to-Jesus moment when she is truly alone. The affair confused her. She could not go with the other guy until she convinced herself that the marriage was over. You stop this, draw the line in the sand, and your life will instantly improve. Part 2 ending coming tomorrow, and remember, sub, and take care of yourself.